Hi, I'm Nathan Oakley, and I wanted to share a little bit about the recent Vice interview that I did, as it actually got published and wasn't dreadful, didn't make me look awful. So I'm going to tag it onto the end of this. Hopefully, it won't get taken down under a copyright strike. If so, I'll just probably re-upload this section of the video on its own. But yeah, I'll also put a link down below if you just want to go straight away and watch the full clip. So yeah, Vice Media got in touch with me via Facebook and essentially asked me if I'd do an interview about Flat Earth. And the section, 10 questions I always wanted to ask, has got various other interviewees. There's people like a sex guru who was the last person who did an interview with them. And that particular videographer got about, I think it was 10 million views in the period of time that it was up. And it was put up yesterday. So that'd be Wednesday the 5th of July 2017, and it immediately got a great response from lots of people. Even Math Powerland dropped me a line, and I explained to him that during the interview that I'd dropped a number of people's names into the conversation to try and keep other people who are in Flat Earth that are definitely more popular or have more information than I do into that conversation as sort of, not clickbait, but whatever, to encourage people to search under those names. But there was various other things that I didn't necessarily like about the interview. For example, right at the end of the interview, they used a part that I'd used as an extreme example of being in an enclosed world versus being in an infinite soup of nothingness, and that example was an extreme example. They asked me about things like the edge of the Earth, and I'd explain to them about their notions of having boats and water dribbling off the edge, which is an interesting one, as there's a recent iPhone photo that was shared because it looked like it screwed up in terms of the orientation during the photo taking, and it got like water dribbling off the edge of the Earth, which is a Flat Earth Society meme. And that Flat Earth Society meme has been around for donkey's years, and it seems to be top of the search results. If you type in Flat Earth and look for images, it'll be one of the first images you come across, this disc floating up through space with water dribbling over the edge. And this is essentially the controlled opposition version of Flat Earth, because they want to perpetuate the ideas of space, which are all obviously propped up by NASA and indeed by the propaganda in our mainstream movies, TV, radio, music, you name it. It's all full of space propaganda, and the Flat Earth Society goes along with that with their nonsense notions of gravity, which they also have as part of their Flat Earth. They have this disc-shaped Earth floating up through space, 8 meters per second, or some crazy another mathematical equation that makes gravity work in that particular crazy world. And the idea of having an infinite plane, a Math Powerland or Infinite Plane Society or whoever else is pushing the notions of having an endless plane beyond Antarctica. Again, I went into it, but it just got edited out. They have their own version of what they want to get out on camera. But ultimately speaking, from the moment they actually clipped the mic onto me, I was very, very conscious of the fact that they could use any and all material that they wanted to. So I was careful about what I said, and only said things that I would be happy with them broadcasting. So in the context that they put out, my little bit that I didn't particularly like the context in the end result about it being an enclosed world, because it's not a view I necessarily subscribe to. It's just a view or a point of view that I put across in an extreme example when comparing the endless vastness that is the heliocentric system with a potential for us being just it. Again, it's a dramatic point, but I don't necessarily think we live in an enclosed world. So the way it ended up coming out in the edit, I'm not disappointed with it, because there are plenty of people out there who do think we live in an enclosed world, so would probably be, really pleased that I'd said it in that particular way. So it's good and it's not so good, but that's 1% of the 99% elation that I have for the piece that they put together. Talking of having the mic clipped on, after the interview had been concluded, because we were actually moved on, told to move off the site that we were filming on, I'd only had one take, so they'd asked me a quick, succession of questions, which I'd given all the answers to on the spot, with no retakes. And then by the time the sort of last question rolled around, that's when we were being moved on. And whilst being moved on, I was still mic'd up, and they're carrying the camera's equipment with them. but they're still filming, so they're asking sort of off-the-cuff questions. It's a lot more relaxed because it's sort of less formal. But that was the opening sequence. I won't put it on here. Go to the link in the description box to their video to actually watch that particular piece. But as I say, that was filmed right at the end as we were leaving the site. You'll see on the actual Vice Media clip in the link below. Right at the beginning, they have this little excerpt where I'm saying that obviously the moon landings were filmed on a set. Now, I assume that they were hoping I'd sort of let something slip in there. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing that would have been nice to have got into that little section was the person who was interviewing me asked me about the skyline, the London skyline that we were looking at from Alexandra Palace. And that skyline is flat as a pancake, obviously, but as she looked at it, she said, you know, to me, I look out and see a curve. And I said, oh, well, you know, we have a word for that. We'd call it being a curvert, seeing curvature where there is none. So it's just it was a nice off-the-cuff comment, because a lot of people will literally look out at a skyline and see curvature, which is not there. So it was mixed feelings initially, but after sort of watching it a couple of times and sharing it, and certainly from the reactions I've got, I think I've gained 50 subscribers overnight, which is, for me, it's like the biggest number of subscribers I've ever gained in a single period of time. So, you know, wow, if you've just subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for subscribing. That's really great. I hope people are pleased with how I represented Flat Earth from multiple different angles. So yeah, hopefully I haven't got anybody thumping on a Bible or thumping on even a globe saying, you know, you did a terrible job of representing Flat Earth. I hope that's not the case, certainly from the feedback within the very short period of time that it's been out. That's not what I've received. I've received nothing but great praise. So once again, thank you ever so much for giving me that praise. It's really, really appreciated. And once again, thank you if you're a new subscriber. Hopefully I'll keep what I've been doing going, which is pretty much having a show, a live stream every single week. I have done now for, you know, coming up for 2 years, literally week in, week out, having a live stream. I'm not as consistent as some of the other Flat Earth producers who will do this stuff daily, but I like to consistently get it out every single week, and like I say, I have done for at least the last nearly couple of years. Certainly with my video logs, I've been getting out for a good couple of years now. But anyway, I'll leave this video with the actual clip, or a bit of the clip, from Vice Media. Hopefully you can click on the link below and share their original link. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video. Nathan Oakley, and I'm a Flat Earther. I run several YouTube channels, I interview people about the subject, and I've been doing it for about the last couple of years. In my last career, I was travelling around the world as an international sales rep, and as I travelled around the world, what I observed on almost every flight was the same thing, which was lots of people staring at the back of their headrests and observing the latest movie, drinking booze, falling asleep, whereas I would actually be at the back of the plane looking out at the emergency exit window, which had the widest viewing angle, and observing the flat plane below. That being the case, when I came across a Math Powerland video on YouTube and he uttered the words Flat Earth, not in ridicule, but in the same context as we're talking about today, it immediately was a eureka moment. I mean, I literally went and woke my wife up and told her that the Earth was flat. Well, NASA were developed for the sole purpose of lying to us. Their only purpose is to perpetuate the globe lie. Every single story that is told by NASA has the subcontext that we live on a globe. The way they're faking things is with top-of-the-line, absolutely cutting-edge studio techniques like were used in the film Gravity. So they're using trapeze, they're on high wires, in order to fake us for as long as humanly possible. Well, that's a good comparison because the blockbuster movies bolster the NASA fakery. If you're watching Guardians of the Galaxy or Star Trek or Star Wars, the basis of that is that you are on a spinning globe. So the fact that Hollywood perpetuates this meme, this lie, this spinning globe lie, is the over-the-top suspension of disbelief. Whereas when NASA do it, they play their cards much more close to their chest. They always keep it nice and simple. So they're not going to be having Star Wars type battles in space. They're just going to have a zero-G meal. It's much more downplayed. The Illuminati.
I don't know a great deal about the Illuminati. It's something that I've come across since finding out the Earth was flat or investigating flat Earth. It would seem that there are certainly families or bloodlines or secret societies that control certain aspects of our life. However, until 1972, we hadn't been up and checked. So to say that a secret society knew and was therefore perpetuating a deception, I would say no. No, I can't prove it. I can only support it with evidence. So to say, do I need to prove it? I would say no, because the starting point is flat. That's what you observe, that's what I observe, and that's what everyone deals with in their day-to-day lives. I've heard every insult under the sun, and I think the reason we get these insults is because we are pre-programmed from birth to ridicule the idea of flat Earth. We're told that it's a notion of Philistines. It's something that we have progressed beyond. So I tend to not overreact to people who are insulting to me about the subject and try and ask them to either, if they're very combative, prove what they believe, which is the globe, or ask them to research flat Earth. Well, I've never been to the ends of the Earth, so it's a difficult one to give you an answer. Is the moon fake news? No. But does the moon have fake news surrounding it? Yes, absolutely. Of all of the celestial bodies, it's the one that would most indicate sphericity, is that the right word? Being spherical. And therefore it's used by people like NASA to prop up the notion that we are living on a sphere also. So it's used to perpetuate fake news. Do I get ridiculed now? No, it doesn't seem to be the case. A couple of years on, it's more like this, people actually wanting to know more information about the subject and doing a bit of research themselves. So I think it seems things have progressed. I don't have an actual explanation for how the seasons work. I don't know what the sun is. The same technically goes for the moon. I don't know what the moon is. And further to that, I don't trust any of the maps that they give us. Absolutely, it is fundamental to our state of being. It's fundamental to our existence. If we said they are right, the perpetrators of the lie, if you like, are correct, then we are absolutely and totally insignificant. We are a speck of dust in a soup of nothing, expanding into a massive infinite space of nothingness. Whereas the converse is that we are in an enclosed system, therefore we're it.